Islam, 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 Moorish America, on a rise upon the seven, within the unbroken circle of justice, mercy, love, and right, and give all praises to the great God Allah, Father God Allah, and honors to his holy prophet, honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, El Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, that is. We give honors to our Moorish kin once again, here, there, and everywhere, and therefore honors to all of you who are continuously honoring yourselves by being yourselves. We give honors to our Grand National Seal. We give honors to our Grand National Emblem, National Flag, Divine Constitution and bylaws, and honors to all of you who are indeed a living manifestation and personification of everything that our Holy Prophet brought to exhume us as a nation. I want to welcome you to another Moorish Prospectus. I'm your host instructor, Dr. Shahid Imani Mohadi Shabazel. My ancient Comedian high name being the same as Dr. Shedawal Minti Muhammad Shepsuel. And we have a grand drawing to bring on the Manifest Moorish Kin, and most powerful one to our family. Coming forth again from the holy instructions for thy children. And we are dealing with the last ayat, we shall say the last two rungs upon the ladder of salvation. Allah is definitely leading on and victory is sure. And it's going to be a grand drawing. We like to be surgical because we are doctors of divinity. So when we bring this measure forth, hopefully our family can get a grand drawing out of this. And also may our people be able to benefit from this special drawing that we're getting ready to bring forth. So we ask that you have your paper and your pen on handy, because they most definitely will be useful to you and helpful as we go into this grand glory of telling our own story. So we ask that, we pray that our family have, patience when it comes to dealing with the insight, and we're going to move easy, so to speak, as we begin to elevate in the ethers of the divinity of this special drawing. I'm also getting this link out here to the family that would like to participate, mashallah. So let me get that there to our family, and we can move forward with the course of the drawing that we demonstrate. In fact, it ain't strange that we deal with this special drawing, family, because everything that we do, when we put a lesson out there, I know a lot of times when I do, I like to make sure that there is a link in the chains in the event of the lessons. So every lesson that I put out there, I ain't just talking to be talking. I put lessons out there, and they do link up to each other, all of them. So if you pick up on one particular lesson, it linked to the blessings in the others. So I'm never just up here breathing, just for the sake of breathing, so to speak. We always have the intent of being precise in the way we direct. When we give instruction, we always give instruction, to those who are meant to get the instruction, regardless of what age they are. I remember coming across a measure dealing with our beloved brother, Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, and there was a speaking of being able to speak the language of many different ages. In other words, for the baby, for those, who may have been in the middle passage of their youth, and then when one has become fully mature. So anytime when one put a measure out here, Some portions of it may be a little bit beyond our pay grade, but don't mean that we can't get there. But some things may be spot on with what we are. And that is because we are speaking to, many different audiences at one time. And what we like to do is when we bring a measure forth, we like to touch on the divine and the national simultaneously. Or sometime, we like to come forth with the divinity. And then when we slow the ethers down, we can bring the national in that way. But nevertheless, it's always going to be a combination of the two. You see, you can't have one without the other. Prophets say this is a divine and national movement. And truth be told, no one group of Moors in this new era and time can act as if they have a monopoly on the prophet's divine and national movement. You see? And if we understand it that way, and if we understand what unfoldment is, that we had unfolded from what we call the general laws into the supreme laws of the prophet, then when we get to a particular measure, we understand, for example, if you ever heard of Grand Major Temple number 1, which don't exist as it relates to the prophet, it don't exist in the physical, is what I'm saying. And the unfoldment of the prophet's original temple, if we deal with the divine and national movement, if we were to apply, some of the things that the prophet, was speaking of along those lines, where one is able to bring about their own customs, and the laws that are in conjunction with what the prophet established, then you understand why it was possible for the Moorish American government, to become as it is. You understand also that if the prophet is working from the plane of soul, you can't get around that, then he is still aiding and assisting us from the plane of soul. And this is very real in concept. Make no mistake about it. So for those who like to say the prophet didn't bring that, I think that ones need to go and do the research and go a little deeper, because we still give credit to our holy prophet, even in regardless of what it is that we have been able to come into to increase the understanding of our people. We wouldn't have the understanding that we have as it relates to the prophet's teachings had we not done a deeper research in what the prophet has brought us. And we see the jewels that are constantly being manifest as we dig deeper into the prophet's teachings. And he has left his footprints clearly cut, so each and every Moor with a pure heart and a pure mind would know that he went that way. You know the truth when you hear the truth, and you know the truth when you see the truth. So we don't have to coerce nobody into accepting the truth. Ones will accept the truth because it's a part of their nature to accept their own and be themselves. If I got to coerce you into accepting the truth, then you in bad shape. You in a bad condition. If I got to coerce you to accept something that should be natural for us to accept. So when we go into our subject matter tonight, have this in mind, Moorish kin. Want to give honors to all of you for lending your listening ears. We give honors to all of you for that. Praise be to Allah. Because without you being an audience, and you being on the manifest, then how could we come together in this august body, so to speak, a grand body of the prophets, to be able to reach our people and teach our people? Each one teach one, that all may reach one. That's the degree. So our subject title, again, is teach him science and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion and his death shall be happy. Now, there's a grand draw in dealing with that title alone as it relates to this particular ayat. For those who don't know, when you go into what is called the Arabiya, the word ayat, it means sign in the Arabic language, or we can say the Quranic Arabic. And that's coming from what we call a divine dialect. Because a lot of time when our people hear that, or they hear Grand Quran or whatever the case may be, even though the prophet said that's where we derive our power and authority from, some of our people still make the mistake of thinking that we are trying to Arabize them. And nothing can be further from the truth, because our holy prophet already instructed us to think not with Arabia. He didn't say think not with Arabia because he was teaching hate. He didn't say think not with Arabia because he was teaching division. But we know in his intent, he most definitely told us about putting foreign Muslims on our rostrum because he understood our condition. They didn't understand our condition. I seen a post come up, and I can't even think of the guy's name, but European, and he had something to be stated about what they call hip hop. And this is applicable in this particular measure that I'm getting ready to bring forth. He made the statement that, hip hop shouldn't be involved in the Hall of Fame, and all these type of awards or rewards that they give to people in that area, right? And, he said this, he said, and further, it don't belong there because, especially in the genre with rock and roll, and I don't come from the ghetto, so I don't understand the language of the ghetto. Now we can rationalize, and some people would say, oh, he went there, this European, is there it goes, somebody put his name up there, Gene Simmons. That's my good brother Raheem Shamari too. For the people Moors that don't know, that brother Raheem Shamari had come through the NOI, also being part and partial of the Prophet's Temple. That's the brother that gave me the information, as it relates to our brother Khalid Muhammad and John Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad's brother, speaking on going back to teaching more science. And that was through, his imam. That's an elder Moor right there that just made that comment that's online for those who can see it. We give honors to you, brother Raheem, brother, for all that you do. But he was the one that confirmed that the charter to Temple number 4 was found in the possession of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is proof that the NOI most definitely had some overlap, which we already know according to our own records. We got it in the records, but he one of the ones that was there when they was taking things out of the house when our brother Imam Wardeen Muhammad, the son of Elijah Muhammad, was cleaning up, and they found those things. And there was some conversation about returning to more science. So it ain't strange you heard Dr. Khalid say, I'm a Moor, and I got sense enough to know that I'm a Moor. And I wouldn't tell you if a Moor, well, I wouldn't tell you I was a Moor if I didn't mean it. So if I say it, I mean it, and so forth and so on. And we seen brother John Muhammad, may peace and blessing be upon both of them brothers, when he put the feds on and he started giving the history about, them dealing with the Moors. He said he was young and in the streets. So he said he really didn't care too much about what was going on, but he never heard. And if his brother did say that he had been among the Moors, he wouldn't have really had a knowledge of that at the time because he was young. He wasn't thinking about that type of stuff at the time. But he never denied, the affiliation. He put the feds on his head, is what he did. He put the feds upon his head to show the people the headdress that the NOI and what they called the Allah Temple of Islam, they used to wear. It ain't strange. I wasn't even intending to go here, but this is important history right here, especially when it comes to dealing with religion, because we're going to get into it. We going there tonight. But yeah, so yeah, but we got the Honorable Elijah Muhammad himself in his book, The Theology of Time, the one written by the brother Abbas Rasul. I read that one years ago. And he tell you that he went amongst the Moors in Baltimore, and he used the term Allah in reference to Allah in the person of Farad, but he said, Allah told me I can teach. So I know, being that Elijah wasn't talking about no spook, he was speaking in reference to Farad Muhammad, regardless of how you see that and how you view that, because we can go into that as well, because I'm very familiar with the teaching. But, he say he was in Baltimore, so it's a possibility, at that time, he could have been crossing paths with not only the Cook Bay brothers, but also the Prince of Peace, depending on the time frame of what it was. But I know, being that Farad was supposed to be on the manifest, giving him the permission to be there teaching within the realm of the Moors, which he said that some of the Moors were jealous of, the way that he was teaching, and some of the sheiks were saying, you got to get up out of here. That's some of that old Egyptian teaching you teaching. That's in Abbas Rasul's version, though. They got a new version of the Theology of Time. It's not in that one. This is the first version and the old version that first came out. But that information, I think, can be found also in Our Savior Has Arrived, where he say he was among the Moors. And he would be among the Moors and amongst a lot of groups. And the only reason they didn't know it was him because he had a notebook pad. And he would write his name down, and basically he would remember his name. So when he went back amongst those people, he can tell them who he was. And so that's part of the reason, most likely, why the NOI don't even know, about a lot of them things. But it's right there in his work. So we have more in common than uncommon. We can go into comparison in regards to dealing with the lesson. We done did all that already. So, that's not where we going particularly. We just mentioning that because, it's just put on the dial plate at the time. But in regards to dealing with subject matter, teach him science and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion and his death shall be happy. This is a powerful demonstration here, family. When we say teach him science, what science are we referring to? That's the question that we have to ask. Are we talking about European science? Now, you let them tell it. They say ain't no such thing as science and religion, having anything to do with each other. You see? That's what they tell you now. And if you see that right there, that automatically becomes pseudo. But anybody that speak that way is speaking very ignorant, because Einstein most definitely recognized, what we call God as it relates to his science. And he said that anybody that didn't recognize that right there pretty much was lost when it came to their science. That's just that's the paraphrase. Yeah, so yeah, this is a powerful demonstration. So I'm going to, what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to pull up this word, and then I'm going to pull it. I'm going to share my screen real quick, because we like to go into the concept of science. So like I asked the question, what type of science are we referring to? We also heard where our prophet said black, according to science, mean death. And a lot of our people went into a frenzy. Some people took that as a comment to become discriminatory, but to our family that called themselves black. You know, we know black is not a nationality, it's a description, and most of them know that now. Most of them have come to accept that now. You know, but when the prophet said black according to science means deaf, you know what type of science was he referring to? Was he referring to political science? Was he referring to spiritual science? And if he was referring to anything in reference to the two, you know, then what is black in political science? Well, we know it means civilis mortus. It means to be civilly dead. So you definitely don't want to be that, right? Well, when we get into the aspect of spiritual science, we know black in spiritual science represents darkness where one is often lost. You know, one is actually dealing with the dark side. Make no mistake about it. You see? And white, according to spiritual science, ain't got nothing to do with no nationality, just like black don't. You know, it means purity. If you go into the teaching of the Orishas, you will find, you know, that Obatala, you know, that he is actually referred to, you know, as the white God. This is an African teaching, but that's dealing with spiritual science. Obatala is said to be, you know, the white one, the white God. We go into ancient Kemet and we deal with Asa. From ancient Kemetic spirituality, we find that Asa, you know, is referred to as, you know, the white falcon in spiritual science. You see? The pure falcon. You see? It's actually Heru, but he inherited through his father. There's a grand degree in regards to dealing with that. And that falcon, you know, that falcon body that was in Kemet, because you know they had many different ones. You know, it's one of the oldest that was in Kemet. But that's a whole nother measure. The Shemsu Hor is what they refer to them as. But you know, that white falcon, the king of falcons, you know, would be the father, and the prince, Heru, is the seed, you know. So that white falcon, that white represented purity. Also, in his dark state, if you ever seen him depicted in black ink, this was a symbolic measure of death, or dead. So even in Kemetic science, that blackness over Asa represented his death, but that death was necessary in order for him to be resurrected. Just like our people, slavery is a divine issue. So it is not strange that they fell into what we call an NBC thought pattern as well as an NBC condition. The thought pattern, one of darkness, mentally dead. It was necessary for them to be mentally dead in order for the antithesis to come on the manifest so that they can be resurrected. In fact, even our brother Elijah Poole Bay, and a lot of people like to take that, you know, as derogatory, but that's an honorable name the brother was given, you know, during the time of being amongst the Moors, when he would be among them, you know, but he told the people, he said, my people, you know, are blind, deaf, and dumb. They are mentally dead in need of resurrection. Didn't nobody get mad at the messenger, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he said that. So why would you get mad at Prophet Noble Drew Ali when he said the same thing? We also teach that death is not an enemy, but a friend. So our so-called black people ain't our enemy. These are our brothers and sisters. Them are our friends. You see, if we under the Holy Covenant, regardless of where they may be along the way, He who is, without the sin of being NBC and they thought pattern, let them cast the first stone then. I'm saying this because we have to put these frivolous arguments, to death in and of itself in order that we may resurrect or exhume our people as a whole. Embrace them where they are and look for the commonality, and then, you can take them where they need to be. If they so choose, because they got freedom to choose. Give honor to our brother Emmy Bay, Consul General of Texas, and Florida Territory, Vice Consul General. We give honors to him, for putting that measure out there recently in reference to the freedom of choice. So we have to also understand that this also taps into what we call the three phases of man's degrees of unfoldment that he goes through in his life works. You hear me say it all the time: the chemistry, the ministry, and the mystery. The chemistry of mortal life, we can touch into, the melanated aspect. We can get into divine alchemy, coming from that darkness into the marvelous light, or a base nature being transformed from carnal thinking into a golden mind. That's alchemy. We can touch on that right there if we wanted to, right? But when our people get into the mortal life, the chemistry, first thing they think about is melanin. Which is a grand thing. Nothing wrong with that. And in fact, since we're touching on some science, a lot of people don't know that same melanin that we have, being that it absorbs, the sun, but it also, reflects to a certain degree. So we really don't, that's one of the reasons why we don't really absorb as much vitamin D3 as we should. And that's what actually leads to a lot of our health complications. The same thing that protect us from, cancerous aspects as the European would have them, they actually block certain things that we need. So that's a free jewel for our people. Get you some more vitamin in you, vitamin D3 and K2. And that will help with some of our ailments, since we want to talk about the chemistry of mortal life. I'm just touching on these things right here, because we're there. So now that we know the difference between the type of science that the prophet was speaking of, in regardless of those subject matters, let's get down to the nitty gritty. I'm going to share my screen real quick. And our brother Silent K to God said triple state of darkness. That's right. Them triple stages of darkness mentioned by the 5% nation in the NOI is mentioned in the Grand Quran. It talk about the three layers of darkness as it relate to people being blind, deaf, and dumb. Easy to be led in the wrong direction, hard to be led in the right. That's that NGE teaching, Nation of Gods and Earth. That's what they say. They say we got 5% of our people that know the truth, willing to teach it. 10% manipulating the blind, deaf, and dumb. And the 85% are the blind, deaf, and dumb. The 10% represent the system. The one that systemic oppression and all that come from. And that ain't just coming through the European. It actually come, from what they call the talented 10th among our people. The so-called elite, which is now being exposed as being powerless. They thought they was powerless until they got a flaming man in there, full of hellfire. Y'all know who I'm talking about. More fire, more fire, more fire. As our Rasta family would say. So yeah. But yeah, out of them three different groups, the 5% was said to be the poor righteous teachers. The 10 was said to be the evil power elite manipulating the blind, deaf, and dumb. And then the blind, deaf, and dumb, those who are in the triple stages of darkness, were represented 85%, who basically are flesh consuming cannibals, so to speak, when it comes to dealing with themselves. Because we've been taught to slander ourselves and eat each other. It talked about that as a parable in the Quran. Poison animals, people think that means eating cow beef and all that. No, it has to do with eating the flesh of your dead brother. Slander of the character. Something that we see mudslinging throughout social media. It's very different from informing your people of a thing, because Prophet Noble Drew Ali tell your friend or warn you. But it's the difference between being informative and being messy. Not now time have we ever got up on one of these platforms to just be messy. We don't do that. Even though some of our people may take it that way because you're telling the truth and you're teaching the truth. Some of them feel like when you tell the truth, if it shine light on them and they feel like it's something that exposes something they don't want to be exposed, then they think that's being messy. But no, because that would mean the prophets would have to be messy. That would mean Prophet Noble Drew Ali himself would have to be messy for calling, a dirty Moor when he seen him. For pulling one up when they was out of line. When John called the people that were amongst him a generation of vipers, that means he had to be messy too. When Yehoshua went and tossed up the tables of the money changers and went in on them and taught truth to power that disturbed not only his people, but the Romans as well, made his own people say crucified. That means he was messy to them, but that don't mean he was messy according to God. See, you got to know the difference between the two. Because if you get them mixed up, then you'll be up here trying to shoot the messenger. You see, every time something offends you, every time you get in your feelings, every time you feel some type of way. You see? So you got to know the difference between the two. Let me share my screen. Okay. There we go. And at the time, I just share the actual measure that I'm trying to share. And then I go to the rest of the tabs in a minute. I wanted to deal with this word science because we are told, again, if you go back, to our drawing, teach him science, right? You see it flowing across the screen there, and his life shall be useful. Now, there's a lot of things that we can gain usefulness from when it comes to some of the things that we have learned from science, and it didn't all come from the European. In fact, all of it come from our ancestors. The oldest form of science actually come from what we call today philosophy. Philosophy birthed science. So for somebody to be going in, and religious philosophy, it was that birthed this science. So for somebody to be a so-called modern day scientific literist and they reject that, they are really rejecting the foundation of what they claim to uphold. That's why we have what we call a 5D thinking mindset. We know the balance between science and religion. So here in the Arabiya, though, because we were asking what kind of science are we referring to? You see two words which is actually dealing with the root of one, ilm, which is one aspect, and ulum, which is another. If you ever heard in the Renaissance period, when the Knights Templar, were in control, and they lost control in the Crusades during the time the brother Salahuddin Ayyubi, which was also one of our brothers, by the way, if you've seen a real picture of Salahuddin. They had a powwow, so to speak, between, the Muslims, and we can even say Moors, they like to say Saracens, and the Templars. And it was a splitting of the M. In fact, it's what got the Knights Templars in trouble with the Roman church, the Pope, because they accused them of converting to Islam. For y'all that don't know that, if you ever seen the movie Kingdom of Heaven, you would notice they were calling, Richard Lionheart and his seed, Balian, they were calling them Muslim lovers. Now, y'all know what that translates in this time when it represents our people. It's just like what John Brown, the European that fought alongside the slaves, they buried him in the graveyard of our people during that time, because of his friendliness, so to speak, and will to really hide the people. It's a movie out there too that the Moors should take a look at, since I'm in that area, that deal with some of that similar activity, called The North Star. You can see it on Tubi. The brother Clarence Powell, y'all know Clarence Powell, he be in everything. He was, Chauncey on Minister Society, Pinky on Friday, and all these different movies. But he was, playing an elder in that particular movie. And, he had told, this particular one slave that was known as Big Ben, in Virginia at that particular time. They had got free and they became a part of a abolitionist movement. And there was Europeans there that were likened to the Quakers, but they wasn't Quakers. And, they had been aiding, the slaves, get free. These particular droids. Sometimes, they would get out there and use their race card, so to speak, their skin, and have one that's an abolitionist on there, and they're abolitionists too, and they come across those that were not so friendly, and they had to play the role as if they was just as vicious as the people that were not so friendly in order to get that particular one across enemy lines so they can carry out the mission that they was trying to demonstrate. But nevertheless, this is the same type of demonstration when it comes to dealing with what was going on between the Templars, and the Muslims at that particular time, which is what they call the splitting of the M. And they came to an agreement based upon the knowledge, being men of wisdom. In fact, for those who hate religion so much so, among those who call themselves scientific literalists, if there was not a translation by the Moors of a lot of these religious texts during the Renaissance, or the golden age, so to speak, of information, then a lot of the rationality that people later ended up having, they wouldn't have. So nevertheless, yeah, these two groups met and they called it the splitting of the M. M means knowledge. And they took a pact among themselves. You can say sacred vow. And that's what caused them to become the enemy. If you watch a lot of these movies where the church is at war with some of them Templars or whatever, that's where it comes from. And a lot of that is romanticized in the rituals and rites of Western Freemasonry. But that's a whole nother measure. But all signs that most of these groups have You know, whether they Western Freemasonry, the Knights Templar, Rosicrucians, all these different groups have taken, from in some way indirectly, or some of them have went over into various different tarikats or paths in Sufism and learned certain things and then came back with a remix of it to the West, So that's where they're being mentioned here too. But in the Arabic, the term ilm represents knowledge, like I said, or science. So we say, teach him science, and his life shall be useful. So, I mean, you think just learning everything that we learn in a European school about their science, that's going to make it useful alone? It says, while ulam refers to multiple sciences or scientific disciplines. That's why you hear the term ulama. Ulama represents what they call the ummah, or the group of Islamic scholars that have the say of yay and nay over what's accepted in Islam and what's not accepted in Islam. They refer to them as the ulama. But the root ilm or ilm refers to knowledge. So you have the knowledge or the science, and then you have those who are the administration, or like you can say like a grand body, that is over the discipline of the sciences. And there are multiple measures of science in Islam, not just one. It's a whole lot of them. So it says the distinction between singular and plural forms is significant in Arabic language learning and usage. For example, when we go into, and that's actually, Ilm al-Nafus, is what that looked like right there, which deal with, knowledge of the soul. I'm talking, y'all can't see this. I'm reading the Arabic. I read the Arabic right there. Yeah, that's Ilm al-Nafus. So it says, and it translates to the science of the soul. That's one science now. And boy, just the science of the soul, Ilm al-Nafus is one branch now. But do you know how much knowledge is just in that particular area alone? If you learn something about that, the science of the soul, I think that will make your life useful, right? Some of the aspects of the things that we deal with as it relates to the science of the soul, for example. Though there are really 7 different manifestations of dealing with the soul, there are 3 that are mainly mentioned, and I talk about them all the time as it relates to the Anfusihum, or the nafs. And that is dealing with nafs amra, nafs lawama, nafs mutmaina. Now, I ain't going into all of that right now. I'm just mentioning that to show you the branches of science, and it don't end there. It's a whole rabbit hole in relation to dealing with that. You see? So, in this right here, Ilm el, oops, oh no, oh, I guess if I go over the link, it's gone. I'm trying to, okay, there you go. Well, you can see it. It's Ilm el Taibi at Ilm at Taibi at, which is actually dealing with the natural sciences. That's what that is. Natural sciences. DNA. You can imagine how many different branches of sciences you're dealing with in that. But it says encompassing various fields such as physics and chemistry. So this particular science is the same science that most modern scientists like to talk about when they talk about being scientific literalists, natural sciences. So even in Islam, we are encouraged to study them. But there are various fields, like we say, physics, chemistry. We talked about the chemistry of mortal life a few minutes ago. And it's a lot of things that we can learn about our body as it relates to the mortal life. But that's a whole nother measure. I told our Moors, it would be useful to get their hands on the book known as Gray's Anatomy. Some of the Moors have placed their order on that particular book. And that's just for those who want to know more about their body, and study the self, how it functions. And if you go into the psychophysical expression, you can actually map certain aspects of the body back to some of this information that we study. But that's a whole nother process. That's science too. That's the real economy of life. You see? So it says, understanding these terms helps in both comprehension and communication with the Arabic language. Let's see what happens when we expand, this right here. Because that's just a portion of the definition. Okay, they went into the word ilm, and they're actually going into the etymology, and again, when you blow it up in the Arabic, this is basic Arabic now. To know, to have knowledge, to be cognizant, to be aware, to be informed, familiar, acquainted with, perceive, discern, to find out, to learn. There's a sacred measure in Islam where Allah actually tells the Muslim, he said, know me before you worship me. You see what I'm saying? Here's one too that goes all into to teach, to train, to instruct. That's the second etymology, So when you have knowledge, you are given a charge with that knowledge. You don't just heap up a bunch of knowledge, just to say you have a bunch of books in relation to that knowledge. You obtain the knowledge so you can make it applicable to yourself, to your condition. And hopefully you may be able to change yourself and change your condition. If your knowledge doesn't give you the power or empower you to change yourself and your condition, then you must question that knowledge. And I ain't saying because you read about it, and your condition didn't change, perhaps by chance or relating to the wounds of fortune. No, we ain't talking about that. We're talking about you tried to apply, correctly apply. Now, we ain't talking about go try to do your own thing and then create some pseudoscience and get mad because it don't work your way or go your way. We ain't talking about that. We ain't talking about you trying to remix what it is that you learned because you thought you can do better than what the teacher brought you. And you get mad and then you blame your teacher, for your mishap. We ain't talking about that. You see? The etymology 3 again deal with knowledge, learning, lore, cognition, acquaintance, perception, knowledge, same thing, science. They got etymology 4. What ilm also means a sign, a token, a mark, a badge. A flag, a banner. Can you imagine that? You having your own flag. It's knowledge. It says also authority, luminary, star, personage. That's powerful because the first banner was a living manifestation, man himself. In fact, when they say luminar, star, luminary, and star and personage, I immediately think about the word ore or mori, which was in the beginning when it says, let there be light. And this was not sunlight because the sunlight came after the light that was stated when it said, let there be light. The sunlight was said to come on day 4. Let there be light came right in the time around what they call day 1 in the Piscean records. So this word Mori, which also goes back to, Amen, the hidden one, and the light of Ra became manifest out of that, where we understand what's being said. But this is what we call the first banner. In fact, you will see in certain depictions on the bas release and the walls of ancient Kemet, Amen there, and then you will see a star, which is known as the Seba, which is for instruction, teaching, knowledge. That's why they refer to the teacher as Seba. the star, and then you would see the flag above that particular star. And the flag in Kemet was known as what they called the Ayat Neta. So the word Ayat in Arabic was derived from the Kemetic word Ayat Neter. Who is Neter? God, a sign of God. That's what a flag represents. So it ain't strange right here that the word Ilam in Arabic represents a sign, token, mark, badge, or, like we say, authority, luminary, star, personage. So they go on and on and on with these particular words as it relates to the etymology, of this word, Ilam, And so then you see them go into derived terms that come out of that. If you're looking at the screen here, listen to all of these branches of science, and each one of them is branches within them science. You got Ilm Ahir, which is eschatology. For those who don't know what eschatology is, a lot of that has to do with prophetic coming, and so forth and so on. Ilm al-Halak, which is ethics. We have went through measures of what we call the ethics of Islam. Powerful demonstration. We learned about many branches of science for those who know what we are referring to. Ilm Adiyan, which is theology, another branch of science. Ilm Istikat, which is etymology, right? Ilm il-Usul, methodology. That science is dealing with just methodology alone. Ilm il-Allah, metaphysics, the science of metaphysics. That's a science. Ilm Imraz, which is pathology. Ilm Ibasir, anthropology. Ilm Isamalat, which is aesthetics. Ilm Ilhal, which is catechism. That's a science. Ilm Il-Arz, geology. That's a science. Right? Ilm Il-Alami, Il-Sivivi, meteorology. Ilm Il-Lisan, linguistics. That's a science. Ilm Il-Nukum, astrology. That's another science. Ilm Il-Hayat, astronomy. That's another science. Ilmi of are pertaining to science. Ilmiyat, which is dealing with the quality of science. So all of this coming from the root word science. So again, I ask you the question. Now it's up to you. Which one of them you gonna study? To make your life useful. But we are told to teach our people science and make their life useful. So in Moorish science, to be honest with you, we really teach all them sciences. We teach eschatology. We teach ethics when it comes to the social duties. We teach theology. We teach etymology. We teach methodology. We teach metaphysics. We teach pathology. We teach anthropology. We teach aesthetics, catechism, geology, meteorology, linguistics, astrology, astronomy, anything pertaining to science or the quality of science. We teach all of that. At one particular juncture or another, we touch on these things. See, so we are not limited in the way that we teach the science that we teach, because our holy prophet was not limited in the way that he brought the science to us. We just have different methodologies or different styles in the way that we bring these things forth. And that's what makes us unique in the way that we teach the science. But when you are right and exact, nobody can be wrong. Because what my Moorish brother or sister teach in their methodology, there's a golden cord of love that binds that science together and make them one. Even when it comes to our concept on the grand idea that precludes to monotheism. There's only one God. You will hear us say this. There is no God but the great God. And that's why we call Allah the great God, to distinguish him from all other gods. We use the title God as it relates to us. You see? But Allah is the great God. You see? That's the distinction. It tells you in the Piscean records, ye are gods, and ye are children of the Most High God, but you will die like men. Yehoshua even told those that were stoning or getting ready to stone him in the book of John, you know, you gonna stone me because I just tried to bring you the truth. If you don't believe the words, then you ain't gotta believe, but at least accept the message. You know, I'm just giving you the new and revised version, you know, off of the top of the dome. But you know that's what Yehoshua was going to. He said, is it not written in the law that I said the ye are gods? Yeah, he was telling people that was finna stone him. And he said if this was written as it relates to those who the word of God came, in reference saying that those who this was coming to, if it was already written saying that they were God, then why won't you believe me? I'm just coming to teach you about God. But he was confirming that particular Psalms where it was stated, I have said that ye are gods. The word gods in plural was used from the very time Genesis was on the manifest, and they used it as a translation of the word Elohim. See, you have to be into the science, you know, to know that. But El was used as a singular among the plural. But yet then when Yahweh, or Yahweh, as they call him, walked among the people, when he ate with Ibrahim or Abraham, when you go into that particular doctrine of them saying that they had dinner together, the word Yahweh Elohim was used. Go look this stuff up in the Hebrew language. I'm just coming off of the top because I know what I researched and what I studied right now to bring about some understanding. But some people have conflict over the use of the name Yahweh Elohim in the word God. They think this is different entities when they all referencing the same entity as it relates to the scripture in the way that they choose to use it. When it says, let us make man in our image, the word gods in plural was used there. Even though it's the supreme being. But we go and we can rationalize with this as it relates to our 101 because it tells us who created everything that is, was, and ever more to be. The Elohim created faith. They were given the power, even in the history of Islamic teaching, as monotheistic as it is. When you get into the knowledge of what they call the history of the prophets, and it begins to speak on the history of the angels, you know, as it relates to that knowledge, it actually tells you that when Allah got ready to create the man, he sent forth his angels to put in work. They was the ones that went and gathered the dust and did all this other stuff. But it was Allah who was the supreme reality. He was behind the whole drawing of the building up of man. Like we say all the time, it's just like a construction project. You know, at the end of the day, the architect gonna get the credit. I don't care how many plumbers and electricians and carpenters and all that's doing the work. You see? And so it's the same when it comes to the angels. You know, the Elohim and so forth, and in their orders and ranks as it regards to dealing with that. You got your angels, your cherubim, and your seraphim, and we can go into many different other branches, but it's 9 orders that's often mentioned. All that deal with science too. That's a part of religion. So when you have the proper understanding of that knowledge, then you understand the mechanics and how this divine apparatus works. In other words, the government of creation, the government of the world, which we ourselves are patterned after. He instituted laws for the government of the world and each and every being as it relates to their nature, conforming to his will. So even the Elohim had to conform to the will of the great God Allah, though they were given the empowerment to create the physical expression of the man. It was Allah who gave the center. That's why you often hear, because we were among the Elohim in our spirit form. And we came into the manifest to express the Elohim degree, because Elohim means judges, spiritual masters, and all that type of demonstration. But it is Allah who allows different activity that takes place in creation to be demonstrated. Just like we talk, about us thinking that this body belonged to us, and, thinking that these eyes and ears belong to us. And we don't realize that we have a lease on life. You borrowing this. It really belongs to Allah. All praise be to Allah. That's what we really mean. All praise on every plane of the ethers. Plant, mineral. Come on now. All 7 of the ether planes. All praise be to Allah, because on all planes, all beings that exist in each plane is giving praises to the great God Allah. And having this knowledge also represent the science of knowing that this is what's taking place. That's why they say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the beneficent and merciful. Alhamdulillah ar-Rabbil Alameen. Praise be to Allah, Lord of all the worlds. A lot of our people don't know what that really means. Lord of all the worlds, in plural. And there is also a knowledge in reference to dealing with, these different realms as we get into what we call, ilm or ilm, the knowledge. This also comes into that trust that we were talking about that were given to us. We were given knowledge or entrusted with knowledge that we may govern through these various different sciences that we mentioned. That's why we say teach him science and his life will be useful. Islam. I hope I'm making myself plain now. Now this is just dealing with science itself, and it's a lot more than this. When it comes to, this is why we'll be studying ourselves and studying creation, reading the book of creation, that which relates to what we call Ilahi al-Mahfuz, the preserved tablet, and al-Kitab, the mother of the books. You see, we'll be reading that all our life. And it's a beautiful thing when we can comprehend this, understanding these various different branches of knowledge. It ain't nothing wrong with knowing that to know is you don't know. In other words, regardless of everything that I've learned or you learn, there's still much wisdom to be learned by the Moors. You can't get burnt out on this science. And that's what makes this science more superior or supreme to Eurocentric science. Because Eurocentric science is falsifiable. It's always based on a limitation. There are no limitations in the science of the great God. His science represents a knowledge that comes from the everlasting days of the past to the never-ending days to come. And we can demonstrate that alongside of being in our religion at the same time and have no conflict. You see? So this is science. This is science, family. And there's so much out here. Trust me, family. I know. This is science. So I'm going to stop sharing here. Well, you know what? I can actually just use this same thing here and go into this area. Let's see. We already know you know what it means. But we go into religion. Teach him religion and his life shall be happy. Now your life ain't going to be happy if you dealing with man-made religion and somebody trying to control you. Ain't no happiness in that when you can't be a free thinker. So in basic definition here, they get a word, religion, a definition. And the definition that is given to religion is the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers in plural, especially a god or gods. So even the people that claim not to be religious, if they believe that it's some power in European science, then they have made the European scientists their God. And whether they say it or not, they have also made the science of that European scientist their doctrine. So whether you accept it or not, science has become the religion of the scientific literalists. And you really can't be no atheist anyway, because it's not in the nature of any human being walking the earth. I don't care what they want to say or what they think they believe or don't believe. It's not in the nature of near one of them to be a disbeliever, because soon as a death-defying situation come up, first thing they holler is, oh my God. If they believe Jesus is their God, they say, sweet Jesus of me. But they call on what they think they know to be God. You don't see them in death-defying situations, talk, I stand to be an atheist and I'm ready to meet my end. No. Survival of the fittest kick in, because that's the lowest plane and slowest plane that they vibrating on. And the first thing they holler out is for something that is higher in power than them. Now you believe all of a sudden, huh? In that moment. Just seeing something that's grotesque, and wicked. Something that you ain't used to seeing occur before your eyes. Oh my God. First thing they holler. OMG is one of the most popular expression when you go in any blog. OMG, OMG. Everybody that say that don't claim to be a believer in the Most High. But why do you say it? Because it's in your nature to reach for something that is higher than yourself. Say what you can say what you want to say. Those who say that they're atheists, because we don't worship gods outside of the self over here. So we don't teach spookism and we don't believe in spookism. We know the great God Allah is ever present in all of his creation, even us. So being that we know that it's not in the nature of anyone to be a disbeliever, then we have happiness. This is why we can teach religion and find happiness in our life. You can't teach somebody atheism. Ain't got a doctrine out there yet. Even if you want to believe it's the science that the European got. Right now, they talking about changing the science as it relates to Lucy. Because they done found something more ancient. Happiness comes from contentment, people. When it comes to the science of the Most High as it relates to religion, it's the same. Believe it and worship him. Pay homage to it. And the text is the same based upon where you are along the way. You may have different names that one may call the religion, but we know in root that religion actually means to tie oneself back to the source. You can study the teaching of Christianity and come into a proper knowledge if you understand that you are really dealing with what we call the Nazarites and Nazarene doctrine. That's why our holy prophet gave us the circle 7, because he was showing you the journey that Yehoshua went through, going amongst various people and nations. He didn't try to change their belief and condemn them to hell for what they believe. You don't see that nowhere in our Moorish Holy Quran. He only tweaked their belief system and gave them keys to understand that universal truth that he brought. So he went among the Greeks and taught them a particular portion of morality in order to tweak it, to turn that dial or that channel or that frequency to the same frequency that he taught to the people, that were among his people. When he went amongst the Persians, when he went into India, all he was doing is, again, tuning the frequency in. And by the time he got done being an adept, everybody was on the same frequency. See, this is the work of the mastermind. It's the same way. When we go out here, we don't go out here to tear down somebody's belief system. Our chairman said all the time, don't try to take somebody's God away if you don't have one to replace it with. Woe unto you who scatter the flock and cause somebody to not believe in the Most High with your ignorance, because you don't know how to responsibly wield your scimitar of consciousness. We're not here to merely go back and forth and argue with our people for the sake of arguing. This is spiritual and mental warfare. We're at war for the minds and hearts of our people. Care nothing about what no Negro, black, and colored and Ethiopian thought pattern got to say about what they believe or what they don't believe. We focus on the people that want to learn. We focus on the people that want to know their higher self as opposed to their lower self. That's where we at with it. Don't care nothing about no accolades. And what somebody, oh yeah, that brother sure enough sharp, or that brother knowledgeable. We don't care nothing about that. You can't take that with you beyond the plane of things made manifest. The only thing that'll be left after you leave here, your works, acts, and your deeds. And if you don't demonstrate that properly, then you'll be misleading somebody beyond the grave. So here we see going on, it says ideas about the relation between science and religion I have benefited From our conversations on politics, religion, sport, and many other areas, religion played a large role in her politics. They was just giving an example here on the screen. But other similarities as it relates to the concept of what we call, religion or belief in God, faith. Faith is a seed that'll make you happy. Belief, if you come from belief in the faith and the fruition, to see fruition make you happy. To recognize your divinity and see your divinity, basically being filled with fruits of unfoldment, that make you happy. To worship the higher self, the great God within, and to see the fruits of your labor, that make you happy, right? To follow a creed that commands that you stay disciplined, elevated in consciousness, at the ready when it comes to teaching your people. And seeing your people come up out of that mental slavery or that death that they were finding, that make you happy. Teaching make you happy. If you like to study, and studying make you happy if you like teaching. The doctrine that you have received, it will make you happy if you can see the things that you've studied have also led to the growth and development of many other hearts and minds that were seekers just like you. Theology make you happy. We can go on and on and on with it, family. But the grand drawing, when we get into the concept of what they call religion on the man-made aspect, a lot of our people fall by climbing because they are following more personality than the supreme reality. And that's why they don't have happiness. That's why we say teaching science in his life shall be useful. Teaching religion, in his life, he will be happy. What you think made our ancestors the happy people? Praise be to Allah. Islamism without the schism. You see? So these things are more than what meets the eye when it comes to these particular drawings. I got a measure here. Hold up. One more measure and then we're going to open up the floor. We know in our chapter on religion, in our Moorish Holy Quran, we are told that there's but one Allah. And he is the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and comprehensive. This is for those who ask about our perception of what we call Tawheed, or worship of God. It's right there. If there's but one Allah, the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible, just that alone should tell you what the Moorish perception of Allah is. We know the sun is not Allah. We are told that that's his noblest image, and that he enlightens the world with brightness. With his warmth, he gives life to products of the earth and admire him as his creature and the instrument of Allah, but worship him not. So we understand the difference between the creator and his creation. It also says to the one who is supreme, most wise and beneficent, to him alone belong worship, adoration, thanksgiving, and praise. That's Islamic monotheism, the grand idea that precludes the monotheism. But believing that the great God Allah is one, in our statement that is given, the idiom from the prophet, salvation our God in unity, we understand that salvation is our prophet. Allah is our God. And that demands and commands unity as well. So we can't say Allah is one and we be scattered all over the place. We can't say that our prophet is our prophet, and then we be scattered all over the place. Because if he brought a holy covenant of the Asiatic nations, it was a covenant to unite the Asiatic nations. But he also came to let us know first, we got to learn how to unite the Asiatic states. We got to learn about the unity of Allah and man. You see? So yeah, these are different measures, that are given in relation to the dealing with these particular drawings, family. Make no mistake about it. So we don't get caught up into, the religious controversy, where people are always at war, ready to take each other off the count. You see? We don't do that. We recognize love in all different expressions. And we're getting ready to open up the floor after we show this to the family here. But this is a good note. Let me share the screen one more time. Okay, and this is coming from the exegesis commentary. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, it states, and indeed we have already sent our messengers before you. There are some of them whom we have mentioned to you, and of them there are some we have not mentioned to you. So when everybody think they know everything and they be going to war, you ain't right, you don't know who Allah sent to a particular people. He said there has been no people but have been warned by a warner from Allah. And that's Surah 40, Ayat 7, the 8. And the other one, the second, was 35 and 24. So it says here in this commentary, it says, this is so that no people may have cause to complain that Allah was gracious only towards some nation and not towards another. That's a just God. Or that some people were given a book to guide them, but they were not. Or that he manifested himself through his words and revelations and signs in a certain age, but remain hidden and silent in another age. This passage demonstrates a sense of respect and honor for all the religious guides that have appeared among the various nations of the world. Accepting and respecting these various prophets who have appeared all over the world paves the way for unity among the nations and peace through religion. Then he says, and we sent no messenger before you, but we have revealed to him, saying the truth is that there is no other, cannot be, and will never be one worthy of worship but me. Therefore, worship me alone. Let's close that. These words tell us that Judaism, Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Islam, the Sikh faith, or any other faith are but different aspects of one and the same, which is in its original purity conveyed the same message of the unity of God. The purpose of the religions was the submission to the will of the one deity and to make peace with their creator and his creation. Therefore, you should respect their religious founders, since this is the foundation of universal brotherhood. His Rahmaniyat abolishes all individual and racial distinctions and confirms that the noble among us in the sight of Allah is he who guards against evil and who is righteous. And it quotes again, surely those who profess to believe in Islam, those who follow the Jewish faith, the Christians and the Sabians, whosoever of these truly believes in Allah in the last day and acts righteously, shall have their reward with their Lord and shall have nothing to fear, nor shall they grieve. Surah 2:62. That's dealing with, from the graces of mercy. There's a lot in here that goes further, but praise be to Allah. We'll stop here, and we just say gratitude with a divine attitude for being able to see these blessings and lessons and have them to comprehend, or have the comprehension to be able to give it back to you, so that you may comprehend. So that being said, we're going to open up the floor now, for our Moorish kin. Start stick your phone, Moors, and stick to the subject matter. If you don't know the subject matter, just sit back and get the lesson and get the blessing and be silent. Don't come bringing no nuts and that ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about. Islam. Start stick your phone, Moors. Islam, Sister Cammy.
Yes, sir. I'm going to need you to read that topic again for me, please.
Islam. We coming from the holy instructions for thy children. And we dealing with the last ayat in the chapter. And it is teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. So one is useful for your life, and the other is useful for your death. Go ahead, Goddess.
Yes, sir. This is Sister Cammy. I'm in this. Allah, honor and praise the great God of Allah, honor prophet, noble Kwame, official citizens, Moors here, there, and everywhere, especially my Moors here. The reason why I asked the topic we read again is because I'm not functioning the way I should. And I thank you so much for that. I've been here the whole time. It's not like I've been here, but gratitude. Allah, the most merciful. He look, I got a vomit. I'll come back in later.
Islam. Gratitude, sister. Praise be to Allah. Well, all right. The door is open. Islam. Any other more? Islam more?
Islam, Dr. Larry Daniels Bay, South Carolina Council Agent. First, I rise and give praise and glory to Allah, the most merciful. And I give high honors to his holy and divine prophet, El-Hajj Sharif Abdul Ali, the last prophet in these days of time. And I give honor to Act 1 of our divine constitution. And I honor you, brothers, great class this evening. And I honor all my Christians and all my Moorish kin online. Peace and blessings, peace and love. Well, brother, when we are, when you talk about teaching science, that's because in science, you study things until it proves itself, and physical science. Okay, physical science, because I was reading something about that, like physical science and stuff like that. It speaks of how all the cells communicate to other cells of the body, and it's called and it has something like dark matter and all these things right here. It's amazing when we start to look within ourselves and realize how great this organism is that the Creator has created. You know what I'm saying? But it comes from the center to the outer valves. And physical science, they get to going in circles and stuff because they should be trying to figure out how to make the organism work and how to make something, but then they come to understand that there's a force, that they can't describe, that give everything that animation, you see, and it's amazing that you all start talking about that, because I was reading about that today. I read this book before. It's by Houghton Hittema, and it's called The Great Law. And read one while I was on a cruise, and I was reading it again because it's good to know what we're made of and how we're made, because that way we can, we can really become those healers, especially of the self, because we know about adductless glands and how to keep them clean and fresh air and all these things right here, because the prophet is leading us on. And victory is for sure, especially when you're studying and doing these things. I find myself studying something, and then I call it synchronicity, and then the subject will come up, because I've been reading this book all day, and it says physical science has offered no definition that explain what life is. These definitions are mere statements to certain signs of life. And then, the other guy, he starts saying something, and then this other guy says it like this right here about the human organism. He said, it is beautiful comparison that you have drawn. He was telling the other guy that, but of all the machines of which in addition to those you have mentioned, can you name one that is self-starting or self-building or self-repairing or self-renewing or self-regenerating? Every one of these qualities is possessed by the living organism, but not one of them is possessed in a machine. And once we understand how wonderful and marvelous we're made, just like the prophet told us, all we need to do is get in line, because we angels, and these things are coming to us because we should know what our temples are made of, and physical science and all the other sciences, we studied, it was offered a book called Anatomy chapter, book 9, or whatever it was, it's in there though. But it's just amazing that as long as we have that love connected to it, we can get everything we want, because it's going to come to us, just like it's coming through you to us. It's beautiful. Great class. Peace.
And gratitude, brother, for that measure. Praise be to Allah. Grand drawing. That's a powerful drawing. And that's the problem. See, modern science has tried to usurp, the great God and just refer to him as the controlling unknown, and, all types of different things. But you can't escape it. And we living in a time now where the forging of the two coming together into cohesion is inevitable. That is the new expression of science. It too has to evolve. Islam, is there any other more who would like to come forth and exercise their fire? Islam, brother.
Can you hear me, Mom?
Loud and clear.
Right. Islam, I want to rise and give all praise to our Father, God, Allah, the great God of the universe, to our illustrious Prophet, Noble Ali, and to our Moorish national government, and to all officials, Act 1, and everything pertaining to Moorish, and all the Moorish brothers that's demonstrating their own thought here, there, and everywhere, and to the Moors that spoke before me, and the Moors that speak after me. I'm glad you brought the transmission from the micro to the Mac. You brought it down in a very, you taught, you gave it up. It's just a blessing to hear you demonstrate like that, to let it be known that that science is our path. And the prophet brought in a little pamphlet, like you stated, jewels that had covered this planet. no matter how old you get, if you come back again, there's still Jews in that book. And it's just a grand thought to bring to the platform that this is not no demonstration, but no ugliness. Everything in there is divine spirit. It's a way to transform a person from carnal to a spiritual thought, perfect man, to truly know our Father God, Allah. Everything that's outside of us is inside of us. Until you get into them lessons and know how powerful your being is, you will never know. But grand class, great demonstration. Much blessings to your time of studying and bringing it forth to us. And it's just a pleasure being here in the Moorish government to hear lessons and blessings and demonstrations like that. Food for a lifetime. Peace and blessings. Islam.
And gratitude, Brother Tomlin L, for that grand measure. You know, that's why Allah said it. He said, know me before you worship me. And the prophet said, know thyself and thy Father God Allah. You know, so when we put them together, yeah, we dealing with the macro and the microcosm. That's why we don't worship gods outside of the self, because we know the self. Yes, sir. Powerful measure, brother. Honest to you. Well, all right. Is there any other more? Islam, Justice.
Islam, praise Allah, honor to our holy prophet of God, honor to you, Dr. Saeed Saab, National Grand Sheiks over the great class, honor to all those officials in the class, and honor to the entire Act One. As always, special honor to our National Grand Sheik, our host tonight, our National Grand Chairman, National Grand Chairman of Moorish America, are empowered to make law and enforce law with the system of the prophet and the grand body of Moorish America. And honor to our National Assistant Grand Sheik, because the Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all the paths that lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the citizen of Moorish America. The subject matter, teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. And I just have just a quick measure, you know, I'll tell you for the great class tonight, National Grand Sheik, sir. When it said teach him science, and his life shall be useful, then you're teaching science, and teaching science would be who made you? Allah, the great God of the universe. And then when you're teaching him religion, the only religion I know that is supposed to is Islamism. And his death shall be happy. Because see, when you're teaching someone, you're teaching them to proclaim and practice these holy and divine laws. And you're teaching them to love instead of hate. And this is a very powerful something to be able to teach the child, even in the womb, and when you come in the womb, and you're still teaching them, because this is where he or she would be full of love. They would be love. And because that's what our job is, teaching them to preserve these holy and divine laws. Like it says in our Constitution, all citizens must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all citizens must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of this government and must live the life according. And when you're teaching him that he have ownership. He has, if you remind me just saying, he has, speaking of both, has a government. He has a home. You don't have to suffer and go through these different trials and tribulations. because he know who made him, Allah, the great God of the universe. And the nearest place you find is within the heart. And so when you have these understanding, teaching them of religion, and it's going to be a natural response for him to learn all different types of religion. And he's learning that, and he will learn that he's a spirit, and that flesh and bone cannot think of reason without him, this spirit. And he will learn that death is something that he don't have to worry about, because death is a friend. And the nearest place you find the great God of the universe, Father God Allah, is within the heart. And see, when they learn these things and many more divine truths here, he's going to most definitely have a happy death. He's not going to be afraid of death. Not even going to have no concern about death. But he's just here to do the work. And see, when you know who made you, and my end about when you know who made you, Allah, the great God of the universe, and your job is to love instead of hate, and you're doing your divine duty, your divine work, that's what you do. Act like God, talk like God, walk like God, think like God, because it's in the nature of self to be God. Learn to steer your thoughts and be yourself God. Just continue to do the work and be love. And it will be a happy day. Islam, I'm see for the great class tonight. Islam.
And Islam for the measure, brother. All right. Islam, brother.
I'm going to this is Dr. Marvin, I was saying. Praise the Lord, I've been given, but I will reiterate. Hold on, let me just come pull out. Okay. Yeah, and I will reiterate, all praises to the great God of Allah, the only one worthy of praise, and highest praises to his prophet, our prophet Noble Drew Ali, and how to our most American governance class, and to you guys, man, for a most magnanimous class. You know, you covered quite a bit of ground, and so looking at the time left, I don't need to go to an exegesis of the whole game, but I'm just going to speak on this particular message you brought on the floor, where you talked about, I wrote it down, of course, and in the midst of trying to get on, the chemistry of mortal life. Okay, I had everything in place, but of course, everything is now. Okay, here we go. Gratitude for your patience. Yeah, we're talking about the chemistry of mortal life, the mystery of death, and the ministry, part itself, of death, and the mystery of the etheric life. And that's powerful, you know, and I think about when we consider one of the master words our next Grand Secretary of State got on in one of our classes earlier this week, to consider, think carefully about something, typically before making a decision. You know, so as we consider the terminology, the chemistry of mortal life, you know, when we look at ourselves, you know, as the prophet teaches us to study the self. And when you have studied the self, well, and when that's what to study the self the more, you know. So this is what it's all about. And that's just one aspect, you know, of it. And these lessons that the prophet brought us, he brought us everything and take to save us as a nation of people. But what it is, we got to take it and save ourselves. And so as we study, talk about that chemistry, you know, and you often go into that, you know, as different things that we put in the body. You know, we often say that it's not what goes into the body or the mouth, it's what you could put in the head. That too. You know what I mean? One truth don't contradict another. But when we look at the body, you know we are masterminds, you know, so we conquer the self.
And so we look at the body. So we have to know about the self. You talked about the science, and you brought on about all of the different sciences. And I looked up that word. It's not an A. It's like L-M, which is science. And it's a good thing about Google Translate, because it has the portion where you can actually put in the actual Arabic letter and transliterate, into English. Praise the Lord for that. And so you just give us so much to work with, because you have delved in these lessons for a high degree of understanding. And we appreciate when you share these, your understanding, aiding and assisting one to do their own research. Like you said, Allah said, know me before you worship me. So this is what it's all about. When we study ourselves, we study the great God Allah as well, because we know that Allah and we are one. Praise Allah for sending us the prophet, for bringing these lessons, for making us make them applicable to the self. And that's the key. We can't just read them and say that's it. No, we got to, reflect, on what it means to be a God, man. Gratitude, God, man, for allowing me to speak. Islam and peace.
Yes, sir. Islam. Allah also, put it out there in inspiration where, it was stated through the chains that come from my beloved brother Muhammad ibn Abdullah, where it says that 1 hour studying knowledge is better than a whole day of worship. That's how sacred knowledge is. And in fact, when you don't know Allah, that's actually considered, a sin, truth be told. But that's a whole nother measure. So we give honors to you, grand man. And like you said, when it's Islam, brother, I'm still drawing. I got you. So, when we speaking of dealing with the study of the self, like you said, we're dealing with different branches of knowledge as well. All right, General, the floor is open.
Islam and my give honors to his holy prophet, our holy prophet, Double Ibrahim. Give honors to our Moorish American government, our Moorish American nation, all the officials of our Moorish American government, and all those that have opened up the way for this Moorish perspective class sponsored by our own Moorish American government this evening. Honors to those that have spoken before me and those that will speak after me, and honors to absolutely everyday Moorish. Grand class, grand topic, grand man. And, won't be too long, because I know that other boys that want to get in. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. Wow, grand man. Sitting and listening, right, to your presentation, and then also listening, right, to the measures that more gave before me. What came to my mind was when I put the two verses together. We know that all of them are inclusive of what I'm about to say, but these two particular verses really brought that to my mind. And what it brought to my mind was that the prophet brought us, right, what we as Moors refer to as Islam. What is Islam? Islamism is the science of the study of peace. The study of the science of peace. See, and this is so unique, right? Because it's talking about teaching science. Science is dealing with order, harmony, how things function, structure, understanding. Religion is dealing with how those things come together and how one lives their life in accordance with that science of harmony, structure, and balance. This is what I got from that. I mean, there's so much more to that. But see, when we teach our children, just like the prophet taught us, he put these lessons to us as being children in infantile in our understanding, in our information and knowledge of the self, as you talked about, my brother. And this is what this is really relevant to, the knowledge of the self. If I don't have an understanding of how I function, what I'm made up of, and how it functions, and how the structure is put together, and how my thinking, right, is at the seat of everything in reference to that. So the prophet told us if he could just get us to thinking, so he wants us to be able to think right. That means I'm putting everything in its proper perspective. I'm putting everything in its proper order so that I can have harmony. That harmony produces the peace, which becomes the way of life, the state of mind that we're trying, not we're trying, but that we would be in. And this is also what we want for our children, whether they are in the state of being physically children, mentally children, or being just in the state psychologically children, whether they're young or old. This is beyond the flesh in reality. This is dealing with the state and the condition of the mind. And we know that absolutely everything, as the prophet taught us, everything begins with a thought. So when we're planting these seeds, as the prophet planted them into us, these are seeds of development. These are seeds of growth. These are seeds that will take us to a higher understanding, a higher state and vibration of living manifestation. Islam is gratitude. Thanks for letting me share. Peace and love, man. Grand class.
Yes, sir. And gratitude for the message, brother. Praise be to Allah, Islam. We got room for one or two more Moors who may be biting at the bit to bring a measure forth from Allah's treasures, and then we go on to the officials. Islam. All right, Sister Cammy.
Gratitude, honors and praises have already been given, and I'm feeling good better. Like more skin, be understanding, teaching your children and what you want to teach your children, and how they would be if cultivated, as far as being in the home, helping the children do their homework, and teach them one portion of it will be some portion, and the other portion is what they learn in European schools. When you are studying more science, you're going to be ahead, because the more science, not only are we teaching it, but we're breaking it all the way down. So even on my Moors, Karen just said, even so baby can understand it, you know. But the youth today, these rap songs seem to be cultivating them. All the wrong people, all the wrong things aren't custom. Pull that gospel plow out. They say if you're not going to follow through with it, don't even pick it up. The situation with my health, put that in Allah's hands, because Allah controls all, governs all events. And if Allah is the one that's in charge of this whole thing called life, and Allah, I love Allah, and I love him more as can. It's been about 7 minutes because I took up some time earlier before when my stomach was feeling upset. So thank you for allowing me to finish the measure, allowing me to speak tonight, and most of all, being understanding, because this health situation is not something I can get rid of or tell you get out of my house or something like that. I'm stuck with it. Okay, Lord, thank you. For ministering to me.
Islam. We give honors to you, sister. As we think in our hearts, so are we. Islam. All right. Well, if it ain't that last more that want to get in there, we're going to go ahead and go to the officials. You know, so going once, going twice. But ye indeed thrice blessed by the greatest. So at this time, we're going to call forth our beloved assistant, National Assistant Grand Secretary of the State, Sister Denjania Curtis Bay. Islam, you there, goddess?
Yes, sir. Right here.
Islam.
Islam, family. I am the National Assistant Grand Secretary of State, Dr. Denjania Curtis Bay. First, let me rise and give praises to our great God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Act 1. I give honors to all my government officials. I give honors to our National Assistant Grand Sheik for opening us up according to law. I give honors to our Council General of Texas for taking registration and reading our chapter of the week. And I give honors to you, National Grand Sheik. Wow, for this powerful class. For some reason, I didn't get the link. It didn't come through, but that was okay. I was able to hear everything, and we give you honors, National Grand Sheik, for all that you do, all the studying that you put in, and me especially. I know all the patience you have demonstrated with me, and especially when we was had the Hills class going. And we just give you honors for all that you do and all the teachings. Because when you first started giving your measure, you was talking about how ones sometimes they question what we're teaching over here. And family, all I can say about that, if you questioning what we are giving to you, it's nothing we can say we already done told you. We're going to give you the truth here. Because number one, this is Allah's government. This is his divine movement. So how can we give you anything but the truth over here? Let me calm down. When you talk about, God, man, that our bodies don't even belong to us, and you want to question what Allah is doing here, we don't have a right. We couldn't lie to you even if we wanted to, because we don't even belong to ourselves. What would give me the right to get in Allah's divine movement and bring you some untruth? There's no way none of us would do anything like that. You know? Because we love Allah. Because we love our prophet. And because
we know better. You know, we know better. And because what will that do for us to try to bring you an untruth? Haven't you been lied to long enough? I know I had. I had been lied to long enough. And when I come into this government and I got the prophet's teachings, and I start going, Allah start taking me deeper and deeper, drawing me closer and closer to Him. Oh, family, you recognize the truth when you see it. I know I do. And God, man, you talked about, oh man, you talked about so many things, and your subject was teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. And when you was talking about all the different sciences and how you made it clear, gratitude for that distinction, because you made it clear. We're not talking about the European science. We're talking about over here Moorish science. And gratitude for making that clear. Because we don't want nobody to misunderstand what science we're talking about. Because we are the ones who gave the sciences to the world. You named all of those sciences. I mean, you just went down the list, bam, bam, bam. And you named all those sciences, and you talked about how we demonstrate those sciences here. Yes, because we are the ones who gave them to the world. Oh, God, man, you know I'm excited. I love these teachings. And you talked about how, and I already talked about how our bodies don't belong to us. Oh, yeah. And you talked about how we were Elohim, who created all things. But we couldn't do nothing without the great God Allah if He didn't allow it. So you see, you know, Allah is Allah. He is Allah. He's the Lord of the God of all the world. And then when you talk about all things that will make us happy. Oh God, man, you know the main thing that make me happy is these teachings. The thing that makes me happy is Allah saw fit to let me be a part of this divine movement, and I'm able to sit here under my officials who gives me these teachings, unadulterated teachers who give me everything I need, who gives me everything I need to be all that I can be for Allah in this movement, in this divine movement. That's what makes me happy, to be able to get on these calls and to be able to exercise my time. And oh God, man, you talked about, you mentioned about them books. Oh God, man, I tell you, those books, those books. You talked about the book of creation, and that book, mother of the books, and it's another one. I got it right on too much on it. I can't think. But when we start thinking, when we start studying these books, this is what makes me happy. This is what gives me joy. That I got somewhere I can come to, and I don't have to spend. We use bukus of money. You give it freely, and you're right there. We can ask questions. You give it freely, and you get happiness. You have joy when you're able to give it to us. I know you do, because I can feel your energy. You get joy out of that. And we do too. And oh man, let me God, man, gratitude for calling me for. Family, I love y'all. These are powerful classes. And if you have any doubt, all I can do is just pray for you. All I can do is pray for you. That's it. Gratitude, that's the Grand Sheik, for calling me for 15 years. This has been a powerful class for me. Islam. Definitely going back and listen to a playback. Islam. Gratitude, God, man. Peace and love.
Islamism, and as we stir up the ethers, like the prophet say, I'm happy when my Moors are happy. We give honors to you, goddess and queen. That's right. We don't sell the truth for a miserable price. Islamism. Well, all right. Let us call forth our National Grand Mufti, Dr. Khonshu Ma'at Herube. Islam, you there, Grand Man?
Islam.
Islamism.
Our religion, gratitude, Grand Man, for calling us forth. We rise and give our thanksgiving, adoration, worship, and our praise to our Father God Allah, the great God of the universe, the most beneficent and most wise, and we give the highest honors that we can give to his prophet. Our prophet, the last prophet in these days and times, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, came vaulting over them tombstones with Negro colored and black, set us all free. The savior of humanity. We give honors to his forerunner, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we give honors to his government, our government, the Moorish American government, the government in which we live. According to Act 6, we give honors to the officials of this said government, our divine ministers, swift angels, our mufti, our royal council, our citizens, the Moorish Americans. We give honors to our flag and our divine constitution and bylaws, our Holy Quran, Grand National Seal, Grand National Emblem, our Book of Fire, the Exhumed of a Nation. We give honors to everything that is Moorish. We give a special high honors to you, National Grand Sheik, Dr. Shadu Amiti Medu Chef Suel, for bringing forth the Grand Moorish perspective this evening. We give honors to all of our Moorish kin who have spoken before us, to our Moorish kin that will speak after us. We give honors to you, angels. We continue to give honors where they're due and honoring all true and divine prophets. And we give honors to our ancestors that came before us, leading the way. We are them today without that contradiction, because no one has the power to change man from his descent nature. Praise Allah for that. And we'll send the first of love, thought, and get well to all Moorish kin that may be under the weather right now or going through some things with their health. We send that love, speedy reparation over our nation. It's been a grand class, Master Grand Sheik, and dealing with this truth, or these lessons in which one's supposed to be taught and one's learn from. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. And as you pointed out, we done brought all the sciences to the forefront. We done brought all the thought patterns of, like you said, the science stems from philosophy. It stems from the questioning of the makeup of the universe and the things that we see in reality. The consistency and pertinence and purpose of our being. All these things that philosophy drives into science is a result of, let me see. Let me put this thought into motion or into action and see what's the results. See if I'm correct or not. Or to see what the answer is to the question. And so we, as man being thinkers, definitely have to realize that, we the first thinkers, and we the first ones to bring the science. Understanding that there's a process in which one can go about understanding the known universe and the material universe, and even go beyond that once one has a grand understanding of that. And so when we teach the science, that we use the science, life is useful. These are the tools in which we use or enable us to have another way to have dominion over the plane of things made manifest in the plane of soul. Until we can get back into our proper thought pattern, like our ancient forefathers and mothers had, where the mind was the only tool that one really needed, in the sense of you didn't have to have no physical tools. The mind can make things move and molding with its own will. And so we learn the sciences, and our life is happy. And the religion, science in our life is useful, and with the religion, our death is happy. Meaning, one is in tune and in line with the divinity. Recognizing and acknowledging that there's a creator, that is a father over us all, with his fingerprint placed on everything that is ever is, was, or evermore will be. And so when one is in line with that, they can be happy, because they know that the works that they've done, the acts that they've done in life, have been pleasing to the Creator, or in line with their salvation. And so one can be happy with the time put in. But when one doesn't know, doesn't have a relationship with the Creator, then man is just wandering around. And he can never be happy with his life, because there's really no destination, but there's no point, without having that destination. He's just wandering around, just thinking anything can be done, and nothing has real purpose, because he's just an insignificant piece of earth in the vast universe. And when one looks at themselves as insignificant or nothing, compared to the all, then, how can you be happy with that? But when you recognize that you come from the source, you're the child of the Father, the Creator of everything, and that the Creator has his hand on your life, and is guiding you and protecting you at times, and leading you to a certain direction and a certain path, then it's happy, because now, there's one is not alone. One is truly a part of the all, and that's, there's no happier place to be. So we just want to give you honors for this grand class this evening, and for the grand measure that you set out in the National Grand Sheik. We want to give honors to you, Morris America, for being here with us and giving us your time, attention, and respect. We love you. Islam and peace.
And Islam and peace to you as well, Grand Mufti. We give honors to you for all that you do. Honors to that love thought. Thoughts in plural. Praise be to Allah. Well, let us call forth our National Grand Secretary of the State, Sister Shepsut Rakat Ma'at and Pooh, Tutankhamun Bey. Islam, you there, Goddess and Queen?
Close to the point. Great class. Gratitude.
Islam.
Islam family. This is Dr. Shepsut Tutankhamun Bey, National Grand Secretary of State. First of all, I want to rise, giving all praises to our Father God Allah, giving honor to our Prophet, Ali, the last prophet in these days and times, giving honor to our Moorish American government, all
deities, divine ministers, most especially our Moorish kin. Giving honor to all those Moors that spoke before me, all those Moors that will speak after me. Giving a special honor to our family online. We also want to give honor to Act One, to our National Assistant Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Aku Haru Jahudi Bey, for opening our meeting according to law. Also to our Consul General of Texas, Dr. Marvin Edwards Bey, for taking registration and reading our subject chapter for the week. We want to give honor to our host instructor, our National Grand Sheikh of Moorish America, Dr. Shenwa Menti Elmohedjed Chepsewell, for bringing forth this grand Moorish Perspectives class this evening. Our subject matter, Ayat 13, teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. And as my Moorish kin have brought forth their measures, indeed, you brought forth so many keys, Dr. Shahid. I tell you, some of the items that I just wanted to touch upon that really stuck out to me was the lesson that you brought forth in reference to ilm and ulam. One dealing with the knowledge of science, and the other dealing with the multiple sciences or the scientific disciplines. And as you stated, giving honor to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali for having brought us everything. All we got to do is take it and save ourselves. This is why it's so critical to do the research, because there's so many degrees and levels as far as us dealing with our ascension, unfolding into the God state. And, we are just so truly blessed to have sent to us a prophet that is still working with us from the soul plane. And when you listed these various sciences, and we see, coming out of Kemet, what our ancient fathers have brought forth, and how when Rome comes through, conquered, what have you, and then want to take a portion of peace or what have you, and then do the remix and feed it back to the West or whoever as something that they have produced, they've created. We see this currently in this era of time. When the prophet left the flesh, how you had different splinter groups. Everyone want to take a portion and come follow me, demonstration and thought pattern, but or trying to erase the fact that a prophet has even come to us to save us as a nation of people. So these lessons are critical. And when you make something a lesson applicable to the self, then can't nobody take that from you. Or you can't easily be distracted or swayed or pulled in a different direction when you have built your foundation on reality and not what is illusion. And the other powerful demonstration that you brought forth, which I have seen aspect of this in several readings, and giving honor to you for bringing forth these various books and guidelines, All Truth is One. Speaking about Yehoshua's journey, and he did not just restrict himself to his special people. He went and visited with the Greeks, India, etc., and not trying to change their ideology or anything like that, but giving them the higher lesson that Allah had given to him. And the end result being everyone is able to see it from the highest perspective, or coming from a universal order as opposed to what I think or what I perceive to be truth versus the universal order of things. Now, spiritual warfare is definitely real, because we see so many things designed to keep us buried in that shallow grave or that coffin, deal with mental slavery. And we're not just making it indicative of the Moorish kin, but we were the ones that were stripped of our nationality and divine creed. And so I can identify with when you have when you deal with teaching, how that makes you happy because you like to study, and when you are studying, that makes you happy because you like to teach. That is such a powerful degree, and that's part of being of service to humanity, because we are here to teach our people their nationality and divine creed. But it also took me back to the previous chapter in reference to how each nation perceives the law from a different perspective, but everywhere he is the causeless cause and the rootless root. So the lesson being that all things are one. And when we allow ourselves to get into sex, SECTS, and various splinter groups and looking cockeyed at one another, then in essence, we are the ones that have limited our particular thought pattern, that have pulled ourselves away from our creator. And this is not the universal order of things, no, nor is it natural to us as a pure and clean people. So it's up to us to be able to solve the fix within ourselves, and there's so much wisdom to be learned. We don't have time to be sitting there bickering and looking at each other cockeyed, or I'm better than you, or I got more than you, demonstration, because those things keep us separated and divided, which is exactly what the pseudo power wants one to demonstrate. And I said pseudo because that's the illusion, and the illusion that we are something separate from our creator, then nothing could be further from the truth. So, it's just a blessing to be able to have these lessons, to be able to see that golden cord of unity, to be able to see that golden cord of love, and also that golden cord of the sciences. That's a powerful measure. We appreciate all of these lessons and blessings that you have brought forth, because as our prophet states, if I could just get you to thinking, you can save yourself. So gratitude, more, for calling me forth. Much peace and love to all of my Moorish kin. Islam.
And Islamism Grand Secretary of State, that's right. Ain't no saving power in that pseudo power. Goodness gracious. Well, we give honors to you for that grand measure. As you always do, you never leave a stone unturned. And we give honors to you, Grand Secretary, National Secretary of the State of Moorish America. And at this time, we're going to call forth our beloved National Assistant Grand Sheikh, Dr. Jehudi Bey. Islam, you there, Brother Harold?
Islam, Sheikh, I am here.
Islam.
Grand class. Islam, Moorish America. I am Dr. Akul Jehudi Bey. I want to rise and give all praise to Mighty God Allah, give honors to the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and give honors to the Moorish American government, honors to Act 1, honors to all our officials, honors to our Grand National flag, our Grand National seal, our Grand National emblem, and give honors to all Moorish Americans here, there, and everywhere. Honors to all those that spoke before me, and all those that will speak after me. Islam, I want to give our Grand National Sheikh, Shahid. This is another powerful Moorish Perspectives class. As always, is highly elevating in the knowledge and understanding, wisdom, and love that you demonstrate. Give honors to you, Grand Man. Islam, coming out of chapter 46, Ayah 13. Teach him science, and his life shall be useful. Teach him religion, and his death shall be happy. Islam. And as Moorish kin has spoken, Grandman, you dropped so many beautiful keys along the way. And I give honors to you for those insightful measures. Man, I tell you, our prophet, the more in depth I learn about our prophet, the more in awe I am of him and his ability to string together everything that it would take to save his people. to lift them up out of the darkness that he seen that we were in at that time, and what he seen at that time, how we would be at this time. He foreseen what was going to happen to his people. And having created the Moorish Science Temple, putting that word science in there, creating the Moorish science, he elevated the mindset of our people. When we look at the knowledge that the science of knowledge, the science of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, we looking at the science of self. And how our prophet was so beautifully in depth and tuned in how we would need everything, the tools, in order to get rid of all those foes that we would have to fight. The instability of man, the insufficiency of knowledge, the inconstancy, the weakness and misery that we would have to deal with along the way. It's beautiful to know that our prophet in the Moorish science thought pattern, that he would connect us to our great God Allah through that Moorish science. To study self is to study him who made you. Study self is to study the connection that we have throughout the universe. And I like how I like the way you brought that the measure of the unification of the Asiatic nation. This is what the prophet has ordained us to do, to get these laws and lessons so we would be able to connect one another to each other, to bring our family home. And when you talk about the Moorish science and how we are connected to everything in the universe, and how our bodies are so beautifully made. And I remember how we were studying recently in our consortium reading on the rays. It's powerful, and I just happened to when I was listening to you, it brought me back to that, Grand Man, and I'm just going to read this one part where it says, in the totality of the universe, which is like a well-built, well-organized palace, with the solar system and the atmosphere around us, the elements of the air, the atoms of which display an amazing order in the broadcasting of words and sound, and with the earth, where every spring, hundreds of thousands of different species are raised with perfect order and regularity, down to the organs, the bodily system, the cell, the atom of all living beings. There is a perfectly balanced orderliness and arrangement which can only be the work of a profound, comprehensive, and infallible knowledge, Islam. And so when I think about the Prophet and how he created this Moorish science, and how we go in, we go deep within, and we learn the things that was already there. Islam. So the Prophet is reawakening that knowledge which was buried so deep within us, that all he had to do was give us the tool, give us the key to unlock that knowledge of self with this Moorish science, and connecting us to everything that's in creation, how we're related to it, connecting us to our great God Allah through this Moorish science, and uplifting fallen humanity. So I give honor to you, Grand Sheikh, was great. It's beautiful, beautiful class. Once again, I always have to wear my seatbelt when you demonstrate. I give honors to you, man. This is a beautiful, beautiful class, and we love you and all that you do, all that you continue to do, and all that you will always do, here, there, and everywhere. Islam, man, we love you. Peace and love.
And Islam and peace and love to you, grand man. If we don't know what it means when we say all praise be to Allah after that measure, goodness gracious. So we give honors to you, grand man. Yes, sir. Well, speaking all praises being to the great God Allah, we give praises to the great God Allah for one of the greatest chairmen that ever touched the planet, topside planet mud. With both his plan leg rolled up. Want to bring forth Dr. Acting Pert M. Heru, Tutankhamun Bay. You there, grand man?
You call me?
Man, I couldn't wait to call you. I was calling you before I come into the plane of the manifest. Didn't know it.
Everything that it takes to save a nation. That's how we even take to save ourselves more. So it's a powerful journey. And when you look at how to teach, teach them diligence and worship, it's just a powerful thing. Because the prophet didn't leave nothing out. He brought us everything. We even learn how what it means to teach us about when it comes to science and how to make our life happy. As a result of that, they even have to teach religion. Before then, what we thought was a religion, but it had nothing to do with our freedom. It had nothing to do with our nationality. It had nothing to do with our government or nothing. So, but we're free now. And the reason why, because we got everything that it takes to save a nation. And just look at our walls and stuff we hear at headquarters, and we see our black principles, our seals, our emblems, and everything. And it's just a powerful journey more to know that you're not a slave. So it's a wonderful, wonderful journey to know that you're free. I'm just charged up, boy. Thank you for being there. It's a wonderful class. Islamism without a schism.
And Islamism for all that wisdom. We give honors to you, grand man, and the tribe of endurance. See, everything that we have, every symbol, like you said, the chairman, when he looked around, same thing. In all our houses, these shrines in here. Ain't got nothing to do with no shriners. We got more shrines in our house. I know when I look around, I see my flag, my seal right here above this apparatus right here. Goodness gracious. Well, if that don't keep a European mind set up for round, well, you don't know what saving power is. We just give honors to everything it is that we have. To be able to look at it and say it's ours. We ain't got talking about no old glory. My country, 'tis a deep, sweet land of liberty, of thee. I singing about what? What you singing? Don't get, well, Islam more. We just want to say gratitude with a divine attitude. And everything that we have, we can show you the origin of it. That's another thing. Nothing that we got up here, that we can't show you the origin of it. So we just say gratitude with a divine attitude. Masterminds are able to trace themselves back, and thus they know. That being said, January 15, 1929, a warning from the prophet to be read at every meeting. I hereby inform all citizens that they must end all radical agitating speeches while at work in their homes or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any citizen, a group of citizens who hold malicious feelings toward the government or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where the prophet found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the government is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting the prophet and the government. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. By order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we bring forth this divine decree. Chapter 25, a holy covenant of the Asiatic nations. Yet the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breasts of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother's in adversity, assist him. If thy sister's in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. Moorish movement, divine movement, everlasting movement. You and I tie Islamism without the schism. Peace and love. Go in peace, Muslims.
Great class, National Grand. Great class. Much love. Much swag. This
session is no longer recording.
Pay your dues. Peace. Grand class. Grand class. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and love to all you Moors. Y'all most definitely demonstrating one band, one sound tonight. I like that. Goodness gracious. Everybody can get some of that Moorish learning. Islam. We want to give honors to our Moors out there too in social media and the Moors that just came home. Silent K to God, Charles Royale, Raheem Shamora, honors to our brother, M.E. Bay, Gary Miles Bay. We love y'all. See y'all in Sunday school, from whence the guides and the guiders of the nation arrive in the ride. Peace and love.